Hi, happy Sunday. Welcome back to Kelly Made. I am Kelly, and this is when I talk about things I've made. It's such an original title, I know. Before we get started, I have a correction. I was trying to do last week by memory on how many skeins of yarn I had used because I was out of town. And so I checked when I got home, and I actually used 6. So I think I said I had used 4. So I will put accurate totals, including this week's, at the end. But because I was out of town, I came home Friday morning, but instantly went to a retreat that I was at until late yesterday. And so while I did take yarn with me on the retreat, I only used 1 skein this week. Granted, it was 190 grams, so it was a big skein of yarn, but I only used 1. But 1 is better than none, right? So 1 brings my total used year to date to 46, which also puts me at a net 0 because I didn't buy any this week. I've bought 46 year to date. I've used 46 year to date. So I'm back to net 0, which I'm thrilled with. I also have 2 kits coming this week, so I better use 10 skeins of yarn to keep that number. But what I worked on while I was out of town, because I just took 1 project, was this blanket that I had started. I think I originally showed it because I didn't like the way the orange was showing when we started. So it's like super, super bright, but the ball itself does fade. And as it fades, it goes, I'm going to see if I can show it. Yeah, there we go. It goes from this to this. And then I just added on another one, get another 20 rows. And now I'm on my 3rd one. And I think 3 will be all that I use for this. I did have to buy more. It was part of the 10 that I bought last week was to buy more to finish this because I started with just 2, and 2 would have been the most awkward shaped rectangle. It wouldn't work. So I will eventually use the others. And then my temperature blanket, I am into mid-November, and I am off work tomorrow to catch up from everything I've missed earlier this week. So I will be working on that today, tomorrow, and all of this week. And hopefully I'll have quite a few that I can get through. And I want to get through at least November by the end of the week. Not quite on pace to finish by the end of March. I would love to, but I don't know if I have enough free time this week to really work on it like I want to. But that's okay. I'm still making progress, and I'm moving forward and not backwards. And that's the important thing, right? So also on my list of things that I purchased this week, I was browsing Etsy because sometimes you do that. And I bought the cutest stitch markers that I probably will never use. It comes on a bracelet, which cracks me up. And what also cracks me up is that 1 is backwards. Maybe 2. The way that they're actually on the lobster claw. And that's Sam Eagle, which you can see right there. So therefore, I'm sure you can tell what the rest of them are. They're all Muppets themed. I am such a freak for the Muppets. It's not even funny. But here you have Rolf and you have Fozzie, and there's my animal who I absolutely adore. Kermit is a pretty good one. Who is that? I can't see because it's backwards and I don't have my eyes on. Piggy? Yeah, that's Piggy. Go figure. I have Piggy. I have Beaker. There's the Sam Eagle one. I have Fozzie, I have Statler and Waldorf, and I have the Swedish Chef. And I'm sorry, I think they're adorable. Will I use them? Probably not often because they are lobster claws. But I don't care. I just adored them. I will probably use them more because the lobster claws are actually small. So I may use them more on projects that I have on hold rather than ones I'm actively using, because also sitting on my table, I have this pill dispenser, for lack of a better word, that I just have all my preferred stitch markers in. This is the kind I like, the kind that are like the locking plastic safety pins. And yes, they're sorted by color because I am that anal. With a little flip top, and I have them all over the house in various projects. But this is what I like to use. These were just cute, and I had to. I was looking at patterns on Etsy. I was in a rut. I was trying to find something new to make, and I ended up buying those. So I still spent money on crafty related things. It's just not necessarily yarn, right? But that's about it. I do have a question for you. There was somebody who I am subscribed to, and I can't remember who it was, and now I can't find the video, who said that she takes granny squares. And my granny squares are not great. as I mentioned in one of my very first videos, when I started my 2025 temperature blanket, I was cleaning out a cupboard and I found where I had started a 2015 temperature blanket. So originally I was going to do the two within a decade apart. And I just, you know what? I don't want to. I think I've done squares through about March. They're gray with like two colors for the center, and it's more of a starburst design than it is a actual granny square. And if it weren't under a bunch of luggage, I would go get it and show it to you. But there was somebody that said, send me your granny squares. And if she truly wants them, please let me know, because I will happily send them to you. I just wish I could remember which video I was watching when I heard, send me your granny squares. I don't know who it was. I wish I did. I can't remember now. And it's driving me crazy. And because, especially when I'm out of town, YouTube is my preferred method of entertainment. I probably have 50 different videos that I've watched in the last week. Oh no, not even that. Maybe 3 days. Because so many are like 3 minutes long. That are crochet or yarn related or theater related or makeup related or life related. Like I just can't remember who it was that said, please send me your granny squares. So if you would like my granny squares, I'd love to send them to you. I'd love to get them out of my house because I won't feel guilt about not finishing this blanket. I don't want to finish that blanket. I want to finish the blanket I have. I don't want to finish a temperature blanket from 10 years ago. But I feel an obligation to finish it while the squares are still in my house. If the squares are out of my house, the partially completed squares are out of my house, then I can send those out, not worry about it, put the yarn away and use the yarn for something else. And I think that's what I would prefer to do. I am very hard at giving myself permission to change projects and to not finish. I'm not good at it. And I am looking for any kind of help I can get in that arena. So in the meantime, I will finish my orange blanket. This was my take along project. I took it with me to the retreat I was on this weekend and got quite a bit done. Actually, I finished, let me see if I can find it. So this is this section right here, from this point all the way up to here is one skein of yarn. And I was probably about right here on Friday. So I've managed to do all this since Friday. Part of that was because to keep from falling asleep. I was doing a lot of it while the speaker was going because it wasn't something that required me to write. It required me to pay attention, and I can pay attention and do this. It's a simple modified shell stitch while I'm there, and it keeps me awake and it keeps me alert. And so that was lovely. And then tonight I went to the theater. I saw, here's a side note, other obsession is theater. I went to see an Arthur Miller play. Now, you say Arthur Miller, I think Death of a Salesman, because that's the only one I've ever heard of. So the fact that it was a different one by him was intriguing to me. I think tonight solidified the fact that I am a musical person and not a play person. There's nothing wrong with plays. I like plays. There are some that I adore. This was, you know what? They had a Q&A afterwards that made a big difference in how I interpreted what I had seen the previous 2 hours, and they gave a little bit of insight. So it was called The Broken Glass. Is that right? The Broken Glass. Just Broken Glass. Yeah. So unbeknownst to me, it was written in the mid-90s. I thought it had been written long before that. It takes place in the mid-30s in New York City. And it was his last play written, whereas Death of a Salesman was Arthur Miller's first play. And so it was almost like these are the bookends and these are the ones that are really truly about his personality. And it was very hard to watch. It was about a Jewish couple living in New York, one of which has had sudden onset paralysis, which is neurological and not physical. And the cast was only 6 people. It was beautifully done. They did a very good job with it. But based on what I had seen ahead of time, I was expecting something completely different. There were, of course, references to Kristallnacht and all of the horrors, for lack of a better word, horrors that happened at that time period. And the parallels that can be drawn to today's society are unreal. Because it just hasn't stopped. It's just under a different umbrella. But the Q&A put it in perspective for me for things that I was struggling with while actually watching the play. And oh, my light went out. Hang on. slightly different perspective. And wow, I didn't realize how much that light needed to be charged. So now it's plugged in. Anywho, went to the theater, had a contemplative evening. And because I was there waiting for the people I was coming with, I was there a little bit early to grab seats. I had this blanket with me, and during the whole Q&A, I was stitching. And yes, that makes me an old lady granny sitting in public crocheting, but I don't care. It is what it is. And I actually end up liking this a lot more than I thought I would. So I think that's about it for this week. It was a small week, so I used one skein of yarn. It was a very big skein of yarn. In its entirety, I have half of one left of this, and I'm looking at my temperature blanket, which I will pick up as soon as I finish filming, and we'll see how much more I can get done off of that. I did find out I have another baby in the office, so I will be, I've said a lot. I'm terribly sorry. So I will be making a blanket for someone in my Northern Virginia office. Probably use the purple that I've used in the past, but that's okay. It's kind of gender neutral-ish. I think it will be a girl, but I'm not positive. And I think that is the only planned project that I have a deadline for. I'll be traveling again the first week of May, and so I need to have it done by then, and that shouldn't be a problem at all. I will be then part of the yarn that I bought last week, the 5 skeins that I bought that I forgot about and I added on at the very end. I think I'm going to make my first wearable. I've made wearables for children. Nothing spectacular. Usually early days. I've done some Ami. I've done mostly blankets. I've done graphicans. I've done flowers and garland and other things. Like, I don't have a problem with that, but I've never made a wearable for myself. And I found a pattern that I like, and it's for, basically, it may end up being like a bathing suit cover-up, but it's basically for a very open weave granny stitch styled hoodie. And so I think I'm going to try that. We'll see. You can come along on my journey with that. And I think that's it for me for the week. I wish you many blessings in the week ahead. I hope that you have creative uses for your yarn hoard, and that you find ways to make yourself happy with the things that you have in your house and that you can use up on your own. Wow, this bright light now that's plugged in really shows the white in my hair. Sorry, I just realized that. My hair is, I've been driving with open windows, so my hair is kind of like all over everywhere. Yeah, okay, sorry. Random tangent, but you know, tangents are fun, right? That's what we live for in life. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for participating, and I wish you very crafty happiness. Thanks. Bye.